YouTube. So this video is going to be a video about being pregnant and pagan. um, and just some of the things I did that incorporated my spiritual path while I was pregnant. Things that kind of overlapped. Things that I did for myself spiritually while I was pregnant. There we go. That's how it's supposed to be said. Okay. Uh, I don't know if I've really said much, but I've been pregnant 3 times. I've have 3 beautiful boys, and with my first pregnancy, I could not find the type of information or I just couldn't find what I was looking for. I wasn't quite sure what I was looking for, but I would like Google search and I would like search on YouTube, and I just couldn't find the type of information I was looking for. Like the only things I found was like some vague reference about like if you do magic or work in a circle with people while you're pregnant, there's a chance you could give birth to a fairy child. And that's not really what I was looking for. I mean, if that's your thing, cool, but that's not what I was looking for. And the other one was just kind of reference that, oh yeah, when you're pregnant, you sometimes are more magical or whatever, really, really vague. And I'm like, this is not helpful to me. This is not helpful to me at all. Does this even exist out there? And I'm sure it did. I just couldn't find it. So, yeah, I had to figure things out on my own. So, with my first pregnancy, a big part of my spirituality for my pregnancy was I had made sure I had altar time every single morning. Um, as most women, when you're pregnant, I'm pretty sure this is a normal thing. You're terrified of losing the baby. I mean, that was my fear. I mean, that was my fear. It was the first time I was pregnant. I had just started a new job at that time. I was working 12 hours a day, standing on my feet, and I was like, holy shit. I just cursed. Sorry. I'm just like, oh, did I just curse? Yeah, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working 12 hours a day. I'm pregnant. I'm terrified of losing the baby. So every single morning I got up and I would light a smudge stick, like a rosemary smudge stick or a piece of incense. Normally it was a smudge stick though. And sometimes I would kind of smudge my belly, but most of the time I would just light it and I'd say something pretty generic. It's just like, thank you for this day. And please watch over me today and keep my child. And it was always safe, healthy, happy, and alive. That was like every single morning. Please watch over me and keep my child safe, healthy, happy, and alive. Every single day. Every single day with the first pregnancy. Because it just helped me. It helped me psychologically. Whether people think that did any difference, I don't care. But it helped me and it made me feel more secure. Another thing I did was I I carried a rune around. The rune I carried around is the rune that looks like this. Or I don't know which way, because it shows everything reverse in the phone. But I held it up because it has the rune on the cover. It's the rune that looks like a bee, and I'm probably going to butcher how you say it. You're like, oh, you used a rune? You couldn't even say it right? Who knows how to... Not everybody. I'm sure there are some people, and I'm sure there's many people, but I am not one of those people who can say every single rune name properly. But it's like... I pronounced it Picado, but I was using a different book. And this book, it's spelled Beorc, like Beoric. I don't know. But from what I had read, it was like a rune for fertility. It was a rune for motherhood. It was a rune for just woman. Like the interpretations that I had got at that time, that's what I got from it. And I was like, this is the rune that I need to be carrying with me while I'm pregnant. This will help me. you know, and I carried it with me every single day when I was pregnant with my first son. I had it in my pocket at work every single day, and I would rub it and I would think about it, and I was like, okay. And even in the morning I would pick that rune up, and I would ask it to help keep me safe. um since then I got this really awesome book called The Runes, a practical guide to the runes. And this section is using the runes, and it says the Bjork, or however you say it, is the rune of the Great Mother, and as such is the primary rune of fertility. It also conceals and protects and rules over all protective enclosures, such as houses or temple areas. And when you're carrying a child, I mean, your house is your womb. Your temple is your womb, of course. You know, it's very good to use in a rune script for the peace, projection, and harmony of a household. In a rune script, it represents a very feminine and nurturing female type. Uses fertility, protection, family matters to bring ideas to fruition and to represent a certain type of female in the rune script. That rune was my pregnancy rune, and honestly I used that rune with all 3 of my pregnancies. Now, I didn't carry the rune with me in my second and third pregnancy, but one of the things I did with my very first pregnancy is I made this little necklace here. Little necklace. See this little necklace? I just used some terracotta colored Sculpey, and it's a big old fat prego belly with the rune on it. Yes, that's what I made, and I wore this whenever I could with all 3 babies. Yeah, I love this. I love this. It makes me so happy. It kind of makes me sad that I don't really have an excuse to wear it anymore, but I just might sometimes for the hell of it anyways. But yeah, it's a pregnant belly with the rune on the front. And that was one of the things I did while I was pregnant, and I thought this is a good thing for me to wear because it, you know, had a kind of the goddess in the mothering, the becoming of the mother phase with the mommy rune on it. Yeah, I love this necklace. I love this necklace so much. Yeah. So that's one of the things I did. I carried around the rune. I had time, and I made sure I kind of essentially prayed over my stomach every day. Also, I was being pregnant is extremely stressful. It's one of those times in your life that you're supposed to be more calm and relaxed than ever, and I swear it was like every single pregnancy it was the most stressful time of my life. So I made myself some prayer beads or mala beads. I don't know. They're just beads that I actually owe these to somebody. I told them I'd give them to them, so I need to do that. I restrung them, and these I made myself out of Kentucky coffee beans. We have a park that has Kentucky coffee bean trees, and I drilled holes in them with a Dremel and strung them up with some hemp. And the beans themselves are very smooth, but I would use these to go to sleep. And you know, if I was worried, I would just rub every single bead, or other times I would do the Reiki symbols. I tend to use the Reiki symbols as a mantra, like Chokore Sehiki Hanshan Seishunin, Chokore Sehiki Hanshan Seishunin, you know, and I would go around and around and around, or whatever. That's what I did. And also it would help me get to sleep. And so with the first pregnancy, I pretty much fell asleep with these in my hand every single night. And when I was pregnant with my first son, I got really sick. and I got misdiagnosed and they told me I had a viral infection. They misdiagnosed me, and I actually had a bacterial infection. So I laid in bed for a week with a fever that would not break. So spent a lot of time rubbing those. Yeah. So, with weird experiences, though, one thing I wanted to talk about, how I had mentioned I found like people saying you're more empathic when you're pregnant. I had one really intense experience when I was pregnant with my first son, like that. Like, I'm a little empathic, but not like extremely. I mean, if someone's like really unstable, I can't be around them because I try to figure them out and then I drive myself crazy. But for the most part, I'm enough, but not like hugely. But I remember I was at work the one time, and when I was pregnant with my first son, and my one coworker was just like bawling, like he was like at the verge of bawling his eyes out. And I go up to him, I'm like, "Are you okay?" You know, and I kind of, whether people agree with this or not, I don't really care. But I was like, he needs some Reiki, you know. So I kind of rubbed my hands together and I would give myself some Reiki. And when I gave him a hug, I was like, "Come here, you just need a hug." And I gave him a hug, and I kind of put my hand right over his like solar plexus as I parted, and I turned away afterwards, and like right after I turned away, like I just felt like I was gonna bawl my eyes, like instantaneous. I was like, pow! Like I was gonna bawl my eyes out. Now, I don't know if that was just being pregnant or if that was like a combination of when they talk about, you know, you feel things, you have more, you know, empathy or more spirituality when you're pregnant. I don't know, but that's my experience. I kind of think it is kind of like a little more, feeling a little more empathetic, a little more empathy. Um, yeah. I did a lot of Reiki with my second son. I didn't carry around the rune. Um, I didn't have as much time to focus on my tummy. You know, I don't know if other mothers notice this, but in my case, I worked through all three pregnancies. And when you're a mom and you're already a mom and you're pregnant, I feel like you don't get as much time I didn't get as much time to like love on the belly. So like I didn't do a ritual every morning. But with my second son, I would Reiki the belly every single day. Every single day, I would put my hands on my belly and send some Reiki. And I also would send the same rune, the the mommy rune. I would visualize the mommy rune on my tummy. I did a lot of rune work and a lot of visualization with my second pregnancy. With my second pregnancy, though, I actually sat up an altar when I went into labor. I had a hospital birth, and I was one of those people that like read everything. I want to do a home birth, but I live in a small bodunk town, and it just wasn't a possibility at that time with the first two children. But I had read people were like, "Oh, we bring candles, we bring this." Well, you know what? Most hospitals don't really let you light candles, but I found an alternative. I brought a candle cozy, like those heaters, and you put like a scented candle on top. So, like the candle I used was one that one of my aunt-in-laws, that's a weird statement, one of my aunt-in-laws made. But that was great. But I put up an altar, and I had two just electric candles, and they were actually Halloween themed. I bought them when I was pregnant with my first son, but I didn't put them out during the labor because I was like, this somehow doesn't feel right, because they had like skeletons on them, and I was like, I don't know, I feel like that would be like trying to bring death into the birth room, and I didn't like it. But with my second son, he was actually born on Samhain, so it seemed kind of appropriate that I had like skull candles. So when I went into labor with my second son. While I was contracting, I made this little sachet thing, and it's green on green because for me, I felt that was the appropriate color. I think of green as being, growth and health and earth and life. So I made this is just cheap felt, and I cut out the rune, I glued the rune on, and this still smells good. I just put peppermint flowers in here, like the flower buds, excuse me, from peppermint, and lavender in here. And even after 2.5 years, this still smells good. So I made a hospital altar with my second son, because while I didn't do the daily routine, daily rituals, and the smudge sticks and everything, I mean, I probably did a few times, but it wasn't a daily thing, so I just didn't have it in me. So he got a lot of just belly reiki. He got a lot of belly reiki. And he got to be sung to a lot. He heard me sing a lot. He heard a lot of stories in utero, but that's not really a pagan thing to do. But I made I basically did an altar, so I had the two little candles, little skeleton candles, and the candle cozy with the scented candle, and this. And when I paced the maternity ward, I was one of those ladies contracting who were walking circles the whole time. And I'd come into my room after every now and then, and I would pick this up and I'd smell it, and I'd hold it, because that's what I made it for. It had my pregnant lady rune, my herbs. So this was one of the things I did for my second pregnancy. Now, my third pregnancy was the Big Mama Gemma. That was the one that I went full on, like, crazy witchy mama. I'm gonna be over the top, because it was my last pregnancy. So I did what I wanted to do. And with that one, once again, mostly on my day-to-day basis, I just did a lot of Reiki, but it was a very dark time in my life. That pregnancy, I was in a very, very, very mentally dark place. It was really hard, actually, for me. So to help keep my spirits up, I relied heavily on my oracle cards. It was my sanity. It was my light in the darkness. These cards, every single day, I drew a card just to help me get through the day. That's actually when I started my Instagram. I have an Instagram. If you want to follow me, you can, but I won't necessarily add you back, and it's not anything personal. It's just how I am. I don't want 5,000 people following. I don't want to follow 5,000 people on Instagram. I just don't. I'm very specific with who I follow. I have to be inspired. Whatever. But that was part of dealing with my own depression and my own darkness during my third pregnancy. Was I went spiritual. I just embraced my religion so much, because it felt like that's all I had at that time. So I drew an oracle card every single day. Every single day. And then for a while, I would like sit down in front of my altar, and I would make sure I meditated at least like once a week. And if I didn't get to do that, it was really hard on me. Because like I said, my last pregnancy was a very dark time. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people realize just how dark it was, but it was not a good time for me. And my spirituality really pulled me through. And these cards are wonderful, and my Instagram helped me too. I added a lot of really inspiring spiritual people to my Instagram, and I tried to be really upbeat, to just try to focus on what was good. So dealing with my third pregnancy, I went full spiritual, you know. And I made a point to do like a home birth. Well, I didn't do a home birth. I had it at, basically it was like I would basically call it like a birthing, what do they call it anymore? Birthing center, kind of. My midwife, we finally got a midwife in town who did home births and had her own place where she could help you do births, and it is fantastic. And that was actually, that experience was a very spiritual experience as well. I mean, I went with the first 2 labors, you know, hospital, great, no problems, but hospital, to my 3rd labor, like 5 minutes from my house. You know, I seriously went to her clinic. She had the place with like candles. I had my favorite Nag Champa incense burning. She had a water birth. You know, I go in there. She's like, "Oh, I'm filling the tub." Gave birth by candlelight with my favorite incense, with like one of my best friends there. Awesome. Spiritual event just by itself. But anyways, I could go on that tangent forever. Maybe I will sometime. But I, with my 3rd pregnancy, I just was very, very spiritual. I was in a very dark place. So these cards saved me so much. I love these Earth Magic Oracle cards. These things really are very, very, very positive, and they helped me through my pregnancy. I also did a belly blessing. Now, with my first son, I did a belly cast. I don't really consider that like a spiritual thing, though. That's kind of just a crafty thing. But with my 3rd child, I did a full-on belly blessing, and I put a ton of thought in it. Me and my friend, we would get together and we would plan things out, because none of us had actually done any big rituals before. You know, this was our first sitting down. Okay, well, how are we going to do this? Well, I've read to do this. And I mean, we're talking Google searching, reading articles, going through Pinterest, just looking and looking and looking and looking and looking, you know. And that was just wonderful. We did a belly blessing. I did not do a mothering way, because the whole like treating, I am not comfortable with people showering all kinds of like bathing my feet and braiding that just makes me uncomfortable. It really does. Like, I am not comfortable with people showering me with that kind of attention. Like, I mean, I know with my baby shower with my first son, it was really weird, because I was like, okay. It was a little weird. I'm not good with that sort of thing. And with the belly blessing, and that was just entirely spiritual. And I didn't do a blessing way, because I'm not Native American, and I was like, well, this isn't quite what I want to do anyways. So yeah, I did the belly blessing, and that had a lot, we did a lot of different things with that. I had a friend do my henna. I told her kind of what I wanted, and I let her do it, because, you know, I didn't have a lot of money to go and hire some like professional henna belly artists, which are amazing and good. But you know what? I have a friend who's really artistic, and I love her to death. And I was like, you know what? Will you do this? And she's like, I'll do anything for you. I love you. And I'm like, yeah, I love my friends. And we had it in the woods at a campsite that I didn't have to pay anything for, because I'm a poor schmuck. I was spending all of my extra money on a home birth, you know, because I was paying my savings. I used my savings to do a home birth. And we decided, we did like the flower headbands, and we cast the circle. We actually did a circle, and it's interesting the way I cast the circle, having since twice now. I've only gone to 2 like group circles, ritual, whatever people want to call them. I've only gone to 2 outside the one I did, and all 3 of them were completely different. I mean, they were a little bit similar, but mine was a much more physical thing, because at my belly blessing, I had people who weren't pagan at all. At all. You know, so I wanted to try to make things very visual so they could kind of understand, like the circle, and you don't go outside that space. But anyways, one of the things we did is we did the labor necklace. And this, look at this thing. This thing is a beast. I was very fond of rocks. I've always been very skeptical of stones, but with my pregnancy of my third child, I was like carrying rocks around all the time. I was like, amethyst, must have my amethyst. I was carrying the amethyst around. While I was in labor, I was like holding this big old chunk of rose quartz. It looked like the craziest dirty hippie woman ever, I'm sure, but I'm sure my Valerie, my midwife, have seen worse, and she was cool with it. But we made a labor necklace. Everyone that came to the belly blessing, they were to bring like 3 beads that made them think of me or happy things. And my friend who helped me put the blessing together, she bought like all these extra beads, and almost everyone brought in more beads than what I even asked for, it seemed like, you know. So she was like, well, I got you these as spacer beads. And so like, it's insane. Like, I've got all kinds of stuff in here. My main rocks for when I was in labor was amethyst. So Sam got me a whole string of amethyst beads as spacer beads. And peacock feathers for protection. And look, I got one of my little Prego belly beads, because I actually made a couple extra of these when I was pregnant with my first son. So I added that. And then look, it's the hamsa. Can you see that?
Oh, where is it?
Right there. Look at that. And this is so perfect because my belly henna had the some things. I don't know what the difference between the hand of Fatima and the hamsa is. I think maybe it's the design in them. I'm not real sure. Little Russian nesting doll. This one was from my sister. She made the invitations. Yeah. Peace. You know, this was from my friend. This was from my friend's son. How sweet is that? This was his grandmother's. And he gave that for my labor necklace. Some tagzai, a bunch of spacer beads. Look at all these fancy beads. My one friend, she brought in like all these, like just a whole variety of beads. And so like some of them are these interesting like kind of like wheel beads. So I put them in between 2 spacer beads, and they're kind of like a worry spinner. How cool is that? No hearts. Look, evil eye. You need to have your evil eye. Or you always have to have your evil eye. Keep things straight, man. The symbol. I mean, this thing is a beast. And I wore this. I constructed it after my belly blessing, but I wore this for weeks up before, until I gave birth. And I even wore it while I was laboring. Like, I was wearing it in the pool, but when I started like feeling like I had to push, my midwife like took it off of me, which was perfect. This was like the perfect timing, because like it was for labor. It wasn't a delivery necklace. It was a laboring necklace to help inspire me and keep me focused or distracted, you know, whatever I needed at the moment. And I've got where's my space bead? There's lava. Look at that. It's a comet. What is it? Is it what is that called? It's the stone that's like a comet. Tacta? Is that how you say? Is that what it is? I don't remember. And oh wait, there's a really cool, my one friend, the same friend that gave me the space bead, she gave me a Native American bead that's like that. It's like one of like the only true black beads that exist or something. I don't know the details. She wrote it down for me. Yeah. So that's really cool. That's one of the things I did. One of the spiritual things I did. We made a labor necklace, and this thing is heavy. I wanted to make it kind of like a rosary because I'm a big fan of rosaries. So as you see, it kind of comes down, and then it has like the length in the middle that it conjoins, and then the little danglies at the bottom. So as you can see, like I went full force with the last labor. Like I was like, I am witchy, hear me roar. People were just going to have to get over it. I mean, I had a belly blessing, and I invited people who weren't pagan, which is a big thing for me. Another thing, this was not my doing, but my friend who helped me do the belly blessing, she made me a deck of labor cards. Each guest, we had them, bring in quotes or sayings or something that was inspiring, which is common in different like mothering ways and whatnot. And my friend Samantha, she bought like a big old pack of like pre-made cards, and she put the quotes on those, and then she found all kinds of other quotes and images and prayers and information, and made me a deck of labor cards. And these things are awesome. Like I still use them. Here's one of them that, okay, she color coded them. Like the ones that are like blue and green have one type of thing on them, and the ones that are like they're kind of coded by what's on the back. But like right here, these are some of them that have like the quotes, and she was actually able to scan the quotes and made them small and put them on the cards. Look at that. The ones that all have the quotes from the belly blessing have this background. Like she drew the design and she colored them. That's so cool. That's so cool. I love it. So yeah. So that was some of the spiritual stuff I did for my pregnancy. Lots of Reiki, lots of rune work, lots of crafts. And for me also a lot of just really embracing my spirituality to help me through the day and letting people in to my spiritual beliefs and knowing that side of me more. I mean, a lot of people knew that I was some form of pagan, or some people probably thought I was Wiccan. I wear a pentagram. That people put all kinds of things to that symbol. But for me, part of my spirituality while I was pregnant was, getting out there as well. So yeah, I don't know if